Hello, this is Daniel Robles. This is my research project, and it is on Solomon. This is for biot 1433. So I chose Solomon to research, and I chose him because I knew he was a king, but what I didn't correlate was some older Bible stories that kind of founded how his wisdom was perceived and shown in the Bible. And he's first mentioned in 2 Samuel 5:14, showing that he is the son um, to King David, and his reign really starts to play, and they start talking about him in Kings. And for Solomon, a couple of key things that I was able to extrapolate was his family life was quite different than what I would have expected. Right, Solomon was the only child. He had no siblings. But the most part that I was most taken back was it's documented that he had 700 princesses and 300 concubines and only three documented children and only one boy who lacked statesmanship. So it kind of made me think, was that for reason being like this really is not the lineage that the Lord has set forth to bring Israel to where it needs to be. That was kind of my first takeaway. The second takeaway was there was already adversity in Israel, even with King David. Right? People may have thought King David was a great king and he had everything going for him, and he instructed Solomon to build the temple, and Solomon did. Solomon built the temple, but in doing so, he divided the land into 12 parts, and um, with that, he had a lot of people, rebelling against them, especially, every one that he had enslaved to build the kingdom. So even what he did kind of started with King David, the demise of Israel, and the destruction of his reign. The other thing that I found quite interesting, which was pulled from the dictionary, was that King David's, or excuse me, King Solomon, his wiseness, derived a lot of it was derived from a couple stories in the Bible. So the first is the story of the two women who had the two children, one of which died, and they came to King Solomon for a judgment. And this is where the women, he said, okay, I'm going to cut this baby in half, and you guys could each have half the baby. One said, yep, that's good, do it. That way we both get equal parts. And the other said, no, give it to that person. I'd rather have my baby live than die. And of course, he gave it to the baby that made that decision. And the other one was the Queen of Sheba, which was a new story to me, and I thought was quite cool to know that there was this, woman who came to visit this queen that came to visit him. Her main goal was to set out to prove him wrong. Right? He's wise, but he can't be that wise, and he answered all of his questions. She was taken back. She gave him a ton of gold. He gave her whatever she wanted, and then she left and parted ways. And Solomon can be referred to the wisest of fools because he had everything going for him. And all of these decisions that he made didn't seem too ill intended, but as life progressed, we've seen change similar to what we see in Saul. Right? I don't think people set out to have their lines rude on purpose. This is just, what panned out for him. He fell into gold, and he fell into taking up all of these other locations, why or concubines, and honoring all of their different gods instead of just the one and true God. But what the story does help us, it helps us understand that we have to take our dark side seriously and always put God first. It also serves as a sign that God will be there, and this promise to King David will still stand, and one day there will be that reign for Israel. So with that, I want to kind of close out in saying my understanding of Solomon was great. My key takeaways were great, and this was a definitely a learning experience for me. Thank you.